Okay, so let's get started. Welcome everyone to the info session for the 2022 PEO York Chapter Virtual Engineering Competition for both the junior and the senior. Junior in this case is 8 to 10 and senior is 11 to 12. So let's get started. Before we start getting into the bulk of the details and the content of the info session, I'd like to ask everyone to please mute their mics during the presentation and turn them back on during the Q&A. Note that the webinar will be recorded, but please hold all of your questions and comments until the Q&A session, just to make sure that we get through all of the content. And likely your questions, if you ask them in earlier, it will be answered by a later slide. Just doing our land acknowledgement for this session. I would like to begin by acknowledging the indigenous people of all of the lands that we are on today. While we meet today on a virtual platform, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we each call home. We do this to affirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and improving our own understanding of local indigenous peoples and their cultures. In York region, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, Mississauga of the Credit First Nation, and Mississauga people that call this land home. Please join me in a moment of reflection to acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past and to consider how we are and can each, in our own way, try to move forward in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. All right, so with that, the facilitators for today's session are Marinella Rodriguez, PN. She's a volunteer of the Education Committee at PEO York Chapter, Professional Engineers Ontario York Chapter. Hassan Tavana, which is an EIT, also a volunteer of the Education Committee. And myself, my name is Sharon Chen, PN, which means Professional Engineer, and I'm the Director of the Education Director. We're part of the bigger committee that organizes and executes this competition for you all annually. So with that, I will give the floor over to Marinella for her portion of the presentation.
Thank you, Sharon. So welcome everybody again. And for today's agenda, we're gonna have an introduction. Moving on, we'll have the problem statement, which I hope everybody have seen already in the website of PEO. We're gonna go over the overview of the virtual engineering competition. And then at the end, as Sharon said, we're gonna have our session for questions and answers and conclusion. So what is a professional engineer? So what do we do as engineers? We apply science and math to solve problems, so many type of problems. As you may know, there is different disciplines in engineering. So we have civil engineering, for example, people in civil engineering or engineers in that discipline, they build bridges, buildings, etc. Then you have, for example, electrical engineering that could be in robotics or anything like that, electrical related. Industrial engineering, which is my field. We work in different type of industries, like, for example, manufacturing, operations, nuclear, which is my case. There is nuclear engineering per se, so many disciplines to choose from. And to call yourself a professional engineer and practice engineering, you have to make sure that you're licensed with Professionals Engineers Ontario. And what do we care about? We care about giving back to the community. It's very important to us. So moving to the next slide. PEO York chapter is a local chapter. We have over 10,000 professionals, engineers, and engineering interns in the York region. We host a lot of events like the one that you are today. And this one, for example, is to serve the engineering membership. Other type of events are, for example, for the grade 12s, engineering entrance scholarship. And this is a good reminder for all of you that are in grade 12. The deadline for the scholarship is June 15, 2022. We have the AMD engineering athletics as well. So let's talk about the overview and eligibility of the virtual engineering competition. So first of all, the goal is have fun, get excited about engineering. As you know, you are grouped in teams of 4 students from the York region schools, no more, no less. So make sure that your team has the 4 students included. We have 2 groups. One is the junior, one is the senior level. The junior goes from the grade 8 to 10 and the senior levels grade 11 to 12. You have 3 weeks to prepare the design for the presentation to your client, which in this case will be the judges. All team members must be present on the judging day, so make sure the 4 of you are present there in your team. Presentations are all going to be live. There is no video substitutes allowed, and the webcams must be on. So please make sure you have webcams and that you can be on video that day, okay? So what is the prize? All members of the top 3 teams per level get gift cards, Amazon or President Choice. There is on the 3 levels. For the first place, you get $100 gift card for team member. Second place, $85, and the third place is $70. The schedule. So as I mentioned before, you have the 3 weeks, which started on March the 4th until the 24th of this year. The students teams prepare the design and the project deliverables, which we will cover in a minute. March 24th, the competition deliverable submission deadline. So that's the day that you have to submit your deliverables, and take a look at the time, 11:59. So it has to be on that date. You submit via Google form, and the link is available in the problem statement document. So make sure you check that out. March 27th is the competition day. So you're going to be presenting to the judges via Zoom. And April 6 to 12, the winners will be announced. Keep in mind that there is a main contact in each team, and that main contact will receive all the emails from the PEO York chapter. That main contact is responsible for forwarding the emails from the PEO York chapter to the rest of the team. Please make sure that you check on your emails and that you pass along the information to your team members. And with this, I'm gonna pass the floor to my colleague, Hassan. Thank you.
Thank you, Marinella. Problem statement where your design is a piece of to develop a piece of land that located in the at the northeastern corner of Davis Drive and Langford Drive in Newmarket. You should design a 6-story building with retail floor space and apartment unit. Please note that you should minimize the environmental impact and promote the well-being of its users in your design. And you should take care of green building plus environmental design in your designing. Next slide, please. Deliverables and deadlines. There are 2 key deliverables. First of all, your PowerPoint presentation that will be present to the judge on competition day. And the other one is a site plan. As you can see in the picture here, you should prepare a site plan that include the parking lot, building, or in this case, a tennis court. The deadline for submit your deliverables is on March 24th, 2022. Next slide, please. Competition day is on March 27th. We have two group, junior and senior. The competition day for juniors is from 12 to 2 p.m. and for seniors 4 to 6:30 p.m. The presentation will be 8 minutes, a strict time limit uh, per team, plus 5 minutes Q&A with judges. PowerPoint will be presented from PEO York chapters screen. And you should take care of two more things, that is, teams must be respectful and not be interrupted other teams' presentation, as well as webcams and mics on mute when not presenting your own presentation. The evaluation criteria, we have three major evaluation criteria. First of all, you can see that one in our website, peoyork.com, WEC 2022. The solution is 65% of your evaluation, and it consists of analysis and understanding of objective, proposal design and strategy, feasibility, creativity, and originality. Plan drawing is 10% of your evaluation, and presentation is 25%. That include quality, teamwork, and response to questions of judges. Next slide. Helpful tips. Please be creative and design different than a conventional or regular building space, while it is realistic as well. Consider evaluation criteria and understand the project, please. Adopt sustainable development approach. Please double check the formatting on deliverables before sending them. Next slide, please. You can find us and follow us in social media, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. Just Google us, or just Google us, PEO York chapter. Next slide. The Q&A session. Please raise your hand or put them in the chat, and I will ask Sharon to answer your questions.
Okay, so now is the opportunity really for, if you have any questions, to ask them. So we ask that you either raise your hand if you want to ask them via chat, or put them in the chat, but send it to everyone so we can see the question that you're asking. Where will this recording be posted? This recording will be posted on YouTube, and we'll send out a link to everyone. Well, like the main contacts for each of the team, how you got the invitation for this, the same person will receive that. If you find that for your main contact for your team, you want to change that, just email education@peoyork.com, which is this. So if you have any further questions about the competition, number one thing you should do is check the website, because that's usually where everything is. That's where everything's posted, right? If you can't find anything there, then you email us. And again, if you're asking questions in the chat, please send it to everyone instead of just us. I hope people have the ability to do that. Okay, it says you said presentations must be live and no recordings, but can we incorporate our recordings within our live presentation? Yes, that is a great question. Yes, if you have videos, or something like that, you can incorporate it in your presentation, but you need to make sure that it works. Remember, you're all sending your presentations to education@peoyork.com, and you'll be likely presenting off of my computer or the computer of one of the volunteers. This means that if you have like a embedded graphic or video, you need to either upload it to like the internet and have like a link to it to make sure that it works, or like basically it's on your team to make sure that it works when it's on someone else's computer. But you can incorporate that as long as you stay within the strict 8-minute time limit. You're okay? Okay, so it seems like we can't send to everyone. It's probably like a setting that I set. The next question we got is, how will the presentation work? Is it going to be to a judges or Zoom call where everyone will be on this call? Okay, so what's going to work is it's going to be into to the judges, but like the other team members will also be present. We highly encourage that everyone is there to look at the presentations, because learning from other teams and looking at their creative ideas is a great learning opportunity. And to make it more of an incentive, we may throw in a prize at the end for with quizzes where like it's based on questions of like a previous presentation. With that being said, like if there's like an emergency or some of commitment that you have previously, you're free to leave after your own presentation. But yeah, it will be on a call with the judges, definitely, but with also other team members in presence, because they will need to know when exactly they need to start presenting. Are we limited to a certain platform such as Google Slides, or can we use other platforms or PowerPoint? Okay, so what we have here is in the eligibility, the deliverables, right? There are three permitted formats. There's PPT, PPTX, which in both cases are Microsoft PowerPoint, or PDF. Honestly, if you're within these, you're okay. You just want to make sure that whatever the format that you have is in these three, and that when we get it, that it looks exactly the same as how you see it, like no formatting is messed up. Another question I'm having here is, are we limited to, okay, so yes, so if you're working on Google Slides, make sure to export it, but I would recommend using PowerPoint presentation so that the format doesn't get messed up. When we are presenting, can we be together in person and join from one computer? Yeah, of course. As long as all four of you are there, if it's from one computer versus 4 computers, it doesn't really matter. As long as you're all there, it's good. What we don't want is there's a 4-person team, but only 2 people show up and they present it, because that doesn't show good teamwork. So yeah, as long as 4 of you are together on the call in some form, we're good. Any other questions? We highly encourage everyone to look at the problem statement and the evaluation criteria, because it's how a 3-person team is not allowed. It has to be 4 exactly, no more, no less. What you see, as for the site plan, I can let you can see here that it's PDF is allowed, but this allows you to essentially use any software you want to generate this. You can even use PowerPoint to make like a plan. We just need to see an illustration of what your design looks like. But no, 3-person teams are not allowed. It has to be 4, no more, no less. Engineering is a team profession. So we want you to also put that. Plus, it's a competition that is designed for a team of 4. So if you have like a 1 or 2 or 3-person team, that is more work per person. So we want you all to really leverage the strengths of each of the people in your teams and really challenge each other, so that you all can learn as much as you can and have fun in this competition. Well, what we're really looking for is the fresh ideas that everybody. How many teams have signed up for the senior and junior competition? So junior competitions is we can't disclose that right now, because not all there's some waiting lists and stuff that we need to fix in the back end. So and usually we don't disclose that spot, but you will know once you go to the competition. Does it have to be 6 floors and maybe add more floors? Well, good question. So I think in terms of the requirement, you need to at least meet the minimum requirements of the thing. I think in terms of the number of floors and given the amount of space per floor, it needs to meet that at the minimum. I don't think it is necessary. Think about it. If a developer is asking you, oh, we only need 6 floors of units, why would you build them more, right? However, what's important is what you do with each of those spaces. As for parking underground, yeah, anything above the space and below the earth of your entire site area is up to you how you want to do. So you could put floor parking, underground parking. You could put like other, like, I don't know, parks or something like that, just as an example on the site. Like, it's all up to you, but you need to make sure that like, one, it's creative, but it is realistic. Like, it has to be at least some technology that has been invented, right? It can't be some technology that hasn't been invented at all. One thing I wanted to point out here too is, let's see. So this, we gave you the intersection of Davis Drive and Longford in Newmarket. This is an actual area. This is an actual Google map area. So it would be smart to kind of zoom around and see what's around there, because that may help give you an idea of what like other uses of the site, if you're going to put stuff other than the development on there. Does it have to be a residential area? Well, what do you mean? Like, in terms of what the client wants, they want it to be a residential plus retail on the first floor and then residential above. So that's fixed. That's what they want. You can't change what the client wants. But in terms of the surrounding area, that's kind of also fixed too. So yes. But you can be creative with this, given that the client knows that they want to do a sustainable thing. Like, for example, like having a park in a normal neighborhood, right? Like, or in a condominium lot, that's not purely residential, but it supports and helps, like, gives more uses to the residents of the building and the surrounding community. So that's a value add. So you can think about that. Is there a budget? So we just that's a good question. That's a criteria that we considered before. We just want to keep it like, there's no specific budget, but at the same time, if your design is so over the top that like it's not reasonable, then maybe that may work against you in terms of, like, the feasibility. But budget itself isn't a criteria. What we're saying is, like, be creative, but don't go crazy with it. We're not going to put like a hyperloop or some like rocket launching site on this development, because that doesn't make any sense, right? So just no budget constraints, but be realistic. Think about how much a normal developer would pay to make a site like this that's environmentally friendly. It's not over 1 billion. Yeah, no hyperloops allowed, unfortunately. No. No hyperloops. But everything else is fair game. Just think about your judges. Your judges will gonna be professional engineers and engineers in training. If they think it's creative, but it's like completely like off to the moon, then that may not necessarily be as good for your thing, for your team, right? But we want creative ideas. We don't want ideas where it's just a normal building that has no added value from what there is existing right now, right? It should be creative. We really want the creativity, but the creativity needs to be at least somewhat realistic. That someone has actually implemented this somewhere, or at least it's an emerging technology. Any other questions? And I think one thing I wanted to note, there's definitely look at the aspects to consider in the problem statement, because that gives you a good idea of what questions you may need to answer. You should pick at least one or two but you can pick more than that if you want. Just balance the amount of quality for each of the criteria, for each of the different aspects that you will want to answer with, like, how many, right? We want quality over quantity. We want substance. We want you to tell us a story about how, like, to convey and communicate to us what your design is and why our judges, the client, should choose your team and build your design. All right, any other questions? Okay, well, with that, going once, twice, so I'm gonna hand this back then to Hassan to close us off.
Oh, thank you, Sharon, and thank you, everybody. You can, for future question, first of all, please check our website, peoyork.com/work 2022. And if you couldn't find your answer, please email us at education@peoyork.com. Next slide, please.
Just gonna chime in here. Make sure your questions are usually like clarifying questions. Like,
Yeah.
don't ask questions like, can I do this? Can I do that? Then that's not a clarifying question. But yes. Okay. Next slide.
Again, thank you everyone for participating in this info session, and hope to see you soon. Take care. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Looking forward to your presentations. They're gonna be so awesome.
And
Good luck,
creative.
everybody.